أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome everybody to Nazirah Level 1 class. Jazakumullah for arriving early. If we can start our class with our prayers, let me call a student to the mic. So let's call 3122. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, darling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, very, very well. Jazakumullah, darling, for asking. Okay, sweetheart, so we always start with Dawood and Tasmiyah. Would you be able to recite Dawood by yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay then. And if I can ask everybody else to please follow along with us. Okay, sweetheart, carry on.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
MashaAllah, very, very nice. Okay, darling, and the Tasmiyah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Very, very nice, mashallah. Okay, so today is Tuesday. Okay, so let's do Tuesday's prayer. Suha, can you recite this by yourself?
Yeah.
You can. Do you know this off by heart?
Yes.
Mashallah, mashallah. Very, very nice. And if I could just ask all students, please do try and practice these prayers so that you can memorize them and read them off by heart. Okay, sweetheart, if you can lead everybody in dua.
Okay. Rabbi zidni ilma. Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge.
Mashallah, mashallah. Very, very nice. Jazakumullah, sweetheart, for coming to the mic and starting the class in such a lovely manner. Allah Hafiz for now. Allah Hafiz. You're welcome, darling. Okay, what a lovely start to the class. Okay, so let me just go through our class etiquettes and remind everybody that we expect all of our students to come to class having done wudu and to have worn to be wearing clean clothes, just like you would do when you go to school. As per our traditions, members of Atfal should have a topi or a cap on their heads, and Nazirah should have either a scarf or a dupatta on their heads. It's really important that you're in a quiet place so that when you come to the mic, the teacher can hear you and you can hear the teacher, as well as all other students can also hear, so that everybody can learn. We really encourage all children, especially the younger ones, to have somebody older with them, a mum or a dad or an aunt or uncle or anybody older. It does help. And it's really important if you sign yourself in with your correct ID, especially your room number. It helps us enormously to take the attendance as well as to send you to your correct room. Okay, right then, so let's move on to our lesson for today. Okay, so I haven't got my schedule open. Okay, so not to worry. What we're going to do today is we're going to learn about combining. So you've learnt about sakin letters in the previous few lessons, where you see a sukoon and you join it with a letter that comes just before it, a letter that carries a stroke. Today we're going to learn how you can join letters where there are how you can join when there are blank letters in between. So today's lesson is called combining, which is the English word, and we also know it as Wasl in Arabic. Wasl means to connect or to link. And there are many Quranic words that you will experience in the Holy Quran that start or end with blank letters, which means letters that don't have any strokes. A sakin letter, if I can remind you, is any letter that carries a sukoon. And a sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharik letter. Mutaharik is Arabic for a letter for vowel. So any letter that carries a stroke, you can call it voweled letter or you can call it mutaharik letter. Okay, So let's move on. We will learn about combining, or wasl in Arabic, by using the following words that you see on the screen. Now let's just have a bit of a reminder that a vowel or a mutaharik letter is a letter that carries a stroke. So that ya that the arrow is pointing to carries a fatha. That's a mutaharik ya. A sakin ba is where the arrow is pointing to, and that's a sakin ba because it's carrying a sukoon. Any letter that carries a sukoon is sakin, so that's a sakin ba. Now, you've learned in the last few lessons that sakin letters join to the most recent mutaharik letter. So here in that blue box, that sakin ba will join to the most recent mutaharik letter, which happens to be the ya that carries a fatha. So when you join, you say yab, yab. Okay, very simple. But sometimes you'll see blank letters. And today's lesson is all about what we are going to do when the sakin letter is not next to the mutaharik letter, like in the example there within the blue circle. You can see a sakin letter, you can see a mutaharik letter, but there are letters in between. So what do we do when we see that? And that's what this lesson is all about. Okay, so let's just recap again. Mutaharik letter, a letter that carries a stroke. That ghain, which carries a dhamma, is a mutaharik ghain. Here, where the arrow is pointing, that's a sakin lam. Why? Because it's a lam that's carrying a sukoon. So it's a sakin lam. There are blank letters in between. You can see a waw, an alif, and an alif. So how do we go about reading this? Remember the rule that the sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharik letter. Always remember that rule. So when you see a situation like this, all you've got to do is start with the sakin letter and just work backwards and keep asking yourself one question. A sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharik letter. Is this a mutaharik letter? So we just work backwards from the sakin lam, and we're looking at the very first blank letter there. It's an alif. It carries no stroke. Is that a mutaharik letter? And the answer is no. So we move backwards and we ask ourselves the same question. Is this a mutaharik letter? And the answer is no, because it's an alif and it's carrying no stroke. So we keep moving backwards and we keep asking ourselves the same question. Whoops, a daisy. Here, now we've moved back to the waw, we ask ourselves the same question. Is this a mutaharik letter? And the answer is no. It's a waw, it carries no stroke, it's a blank waw. So we carry on with the same rule, which we just keep moving backwards. And then we reach this ghain, and we ask ourselves the same question. Is this a mutaharik letter? And the answer is yes, because a mutaharik letter is a letter that carries a stroke. And this ghain is carrying the stroke of dhamma. So we finally found, after a few letters, a mutaharik letter. And that's the most recent mutaharik letter to that sakin lam. So join the sakin letter to the most recent mutaharik letter. Join that sakin lam to that ghain. And you would read that as ghul, ghul. Oopsie daisy. And you ignore all the letters in between. Very simple. Remember the rule that a sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharik letter. If the sakin letter is not sitting right next to a mutaharik letter, don't stress, don't worry. Just work backwards and keep asking yourself the same question. Is this a mutaharik letter? And keep on working backwards, no matter how many letters it is, until you find a mutaharik letter, and then join the sakin letter to the mutaharik letter and ignore the letters in between. Okay, so I've just gone through explaining that a sakin letter is a letter carrying a sukoon, a mutaharik letter is a letter carrying a stroke. A sakin letter joins to the most recent mutaharik letter. When you see a sakin letter, work back till you find a voweled letter. Voweled letter is in English, mutaharik letter is in Arabic. The two terms mean exactly the same thing. And when you found the mutaharik letter, you just join those two. And that's what we call combining. Ignore any letters in between. So just to reiterate, if you see a sakin letter, join it to the most recent mutaharik letter, ignore letters in between. Like in this example here, you would join the sakin lam to the mutaharik ghain and ignore all the letters in between. And it doesn't matter if it's one letter or four letters or however many letters, ignore them. Okay, so today's class, we've just gone through the rule of wasl or combining. And if anybody wants to look that up in the Talimul-Qur'an, it's lesson number 18 on page 76. Now, we're going to open up our breakout rooms in a moment. And in your breakout rooms, you will practice from Surah Ali Imran, verses 112 to 116. And you'll apply all the rules that you've learned so far. Pay attention to all the timings on short strokes and long strokes. And pay particular attention to sakin letters and how they join. If I can ask my colleagues at Central Admin to open up the breakout rooms.